Welcome, fellow castigators. Imagine, if you will, that you have a father that loves you. I know you don't, but just pretend for a moment that you do. Now, your father is the best of men. He's strong, brave, fair, and as you grew up, he inspired you to become someone who lives their life seeing the beauty in things. For about 40 years, your dad remains a happy and hopeful individual. Then, a strange bearded man shows up one day and removes your father's testicles. The man jiggles them in your face and for the next 5 years taunts you over the internet, claiming that he has now improved your family forever. But your dad is never the same. He's become grumpy, reclusive, and bitter. Through the years, you long for the bygone days when the image you had of your father was untainted. Just as you begin to long for death, the bearded man once again appears at your door. He smiles viciously and then begins to remove his own testicles. As the blade tugs back and forth across the limp and sagging skin, the bearded man regales you with a poem he wrote, which claims that stealing away testicles in the night is perfectly acceptable because the ends justify the means. What are the ends, you ask? His own sick fantasies, his own warped desire to mutilate your dad's meatballs. Now return to reality. This is essentially the same effect as watching Rian Johnson's new Netflix film, Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. Now before I start, I want to say that I really enjoyed Knives Out. It has good production design with easy-to-look-at costumes and sets. It has a good cast playing interesting characters. And the story conclusion is unique enough to set it apart from other murder mysteries. Glass Onion, however, is none of these things. Mild spoilers ahead, of course. The film opens with a series of characters attempting to open puzzle boxes that are an invitation to a murder mystery party on a private island. We learn that these characters are excessively stupid and mean, like the characters from Knives Out. This time, though, they're pretty one-dimensional, and there is little respite, as they are on screen most of the time. After some Twitch streamer and Twitter jokes, we meet Benoit Blanc in the bathtub playing Among Us and complaining about lockdowns. Boy, this movie is gonna age really well. I mean, RoboCop 2 was more relevant than this. Blanc also receives a box and sets out on his new case. He sits on a pier wearing a mask. Outside. By himself. The Dents gang show up and Ethan Hawke appears for his criminally low screen time. He fires an unexplained cure for coof into their mouths and off they go on the yacht. Upon arrival, they meet Miles Braun, who is already acting suspicious. He then shows Blanc the glass ogre. After some useless dialogue, Miles rants at Blanc about being a disruptor. This rant is clearly Rian Johnson's self-insert to respond to fans over backlash for The Last Jedi, something he has not been able to stop tweeting about to this day. In Miles' speech, he claims that the way to get ahead in life is to break things, and that people will get excited because they actually want it to be broken. There is no evidence for such absurdities, and it's simply wishful thinking on his part. I'm actually not sure if he's trying to convince the audience or himself. But don't worry, this is not the last time he'll touch upon this. Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery gets so much worse. At the dinner table, Miles explains the rules of the murder mystery game, and Blanc solves it immediately. Blanc tells Miles he's stupid for gathering people who would want to kill him in one place, and then Miles pours drinks for everyone. Finally, after about 40 minutes of setup, somebody dies. Duke has been poisoned by someone in the room, but the audience is totally onto him. I feel like people have seen enough murder mysteries to know that they should watch Who Hands a Glass to Who. They try to show us an inaccurate flashback as a red herring, but the damage is already done. The audience knows who the killer is, and now they have to sit through an hour and a half of more movie. To make the slog even more painful, the next hour of the movie is entirely flashback. You're forced to relive the most painful parts of the movie with more dumb parts that explain all of the things you already know. As it turns out, Miles' ex-business partner, Andy, has been dead for quite some time, and her twin sister, Helen, is masquerading as Andy. I don't know how you hide the death of a famous tech CEO for a week, but I'll ignore that for now. Most of this flashback is an excruciatingly long section where Blanc and Helen talk at different locations in their terrible southern accents. Helen tells Blanc that the idea for something called a reality distortion field was actually created by Andy and stolen by Miles. Then the Dents gang testify in court by lying about whose idea it really was. We're never told what a reality distortion field is, but I assume it's a vague phrase that Rian Johnson had lying around from Star Wars. We then follow Helen as she stumbles her way through the plot, drunkenly yelling at people and not really finding out anything interesting. I don't remember the flashbacks in Knives Out being this egregious. Back in real time, Helen finds the evidence she needs to prove that the Dents gang were lying, and Blanc concludes that the mystery was easy to solve because the killer is an idiot. But if the plot was designed by an idiot, then there is nothing complicated or twisty for the audience to enjoy. This is why characters like Loki, the Master, Hannibal Lecter, Q, or Moriarty are so interesting. Their brilliance and cunning makes for a formidable foe that the hero must outwit. If your villain is stupid, the plot feels stupid. And the movie feels stupid. Next, Miles destroys the evidence that Helen stupidly waved in his face, and Helen responds by smashing everything in the room like a petulant child. If she wasn't unlikable enough, Helen finishes by deliberately destroying the Mona Lisa. The Dents gang gather on the steps and have their own little Me Too movement and decide that they're going to tell the truth. It doesn't make sense, though. If the burning of the Mona Lisa will expose Miles, then why go down with him? Are they really going to risk jail by admitting they lied in court? The worst of the ideas that Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery presents is this ending. The idea that it was okay for Helen to destroy the Mona Lisa to get revenge on Miles. What Rian Johnson is trying to say is that it's okay to destroy art if you get your message across. He's trying to say that it was fine that he defaced Star Wars for the sake of insipid intersectional feminism. I can't stress enough just how wrong Rian Johnson is. Art not only shapes culture, but it improves society. Humans use it to communicate truths about ourselves and each other so that we may gain unity in our mutual understanding. If you have something to say, find a new way to say it. Don't resort to pathetic means like destroying creations that don't belong to you. If politics, ideologies, and your insecure identity problems take precedence over everything, even art, then you are wasting your life, and you do not truly value the people or the world around you. The ends did not justify the means, Rian Johnson. But I suppose in a way he did communicate his truth. He created a character so stupid he had to appropriate the ideas of others in order to find success. A character who believes the people actually want their art destroyed for an alleged higher purpose. Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery is not only the perfect title for the movie, but it's the perfect descriptor for Johnson himself. A person who presents himself as layered, but is ultimately transparent as the stupid, ignorant, and uncreative social justice warrior that he actually is. And you can try and tell me that he isn't, but he just made an entire movie just to get back at the people who accuse him of doing that very thing. It's not only tactless, but it's staggeringly brainless. Besides that, the movie is badly paced, poorly designed, poorly acted, painfully dated, and suffers immeasurably from a distinct lack of frank Oz. Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery is just plain dumb, and quite frankly, I wish Knives Out wasn't good so I could be spared from having to experience Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery. Tell me in the comments if you did or didn't enjoy Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery, and why, because I'm curious due to really not enjoying Glass Onion: A Knives Out Mystery. Subscribe for more content that hopefully will never again be a Knives Out mystery.